November 20th, 1941. 21:00 p.m. A drafty, unlisted office, Ministry of Aircraft Production, London. The air is blue with stale cigarette smoke. Lord Beaverbrook, the Canadian-born Minister of Everything for Britain's war machine, slams his fist on a desk. The ashtray jumps. It is not enough. 6 crews. We lost 6 last night. The men in the room, RAF air marshals and factory owners, flinch. Arthur, Beaverbrook says. His voice a low growl aimed at Air Marshal Bomber Harris. You tell me you can dehouse the Reich. You tell me you can break them. You have your 4,000-pound cookies. You have your window, but you don't have the tool. The room is silent. They all know what the tool is. It is the Avro Lancaster. It is not just an airplane. It is a miracle. It is a 30-ton 4-engine colossus with a 102-foot wingspan, designed by the genius Roy Chadwick. It is the only Allied bomber in existence that can carry the 8,000-pound Blockbuster or the 12,000-pound Tallboy bombs. It is the key. We are building them as fast as we can. Minister, the Avro man says, his voice thin. Your fast is not fast enough. Beaverbrook roars. Your factory at Woodford. How many can it build? Perhaps 20 a month, 30, if the Luftwaffe gives us a week of peace. And when, Beaverbrook says, his voice dropping to a terrifying, cold whisper, when the Luftwaffe realizes that your one single factory is the only place on this island building this miracle, what do you think they will do? The question hangs in the air. It is a death sentence. A single critical point of failure. Beaverbrook stabs a finger at a map of the world, not at Britain, not at America, which is still, on this day, not in the war. He stabs it at Canada. We will build a second factory. He declares, there, in the Dominion, 3,000 miles from the nearest German bomb, a place with endless space, endless resources, and a people who, as I recall, know how to build things. The room is stunned. The idea is absurd. Minister, the Avro man says, you don't understand. The Lancaster, it's not a Hurricane. It's not a Spitfire. It is the most complex machine on Earth. It has 7 million parts, 50,000 of which are individual, non-repeating blueprints. And then you will send them. Beaverbrook says, send them? The man is aghast. How? On a convoy? The U-boats would sink it in a day. The plans would be at the bottom of the Atlantic. The entire project lost. It is impossible. Beaverbrook smiles, a thin, wolfish grin. No, not on a ship. We will fly them. January 12th, 1942. A windswept tarmac at RAF Prestwick, Scotland. A single, stripped-down B-24 Liberator bomber, on loan from the Americans, is being loaded. It is not being loaded with bombs. It is being loaded with paper, crates and crates and crates of it. 50,000 technical drawings, jigs, templates, specifications, the soul of the Lancaster, entrusted to a single, perilous, 14-hour transatlantic flight. The pilot, a civilian ferry command flyer, knows that the cargo he is carrying is, quite possibly, the most valuable single object of the war, if he is intercepted, if his engines fail, if he misjudges the weather. The entire plan dies with him. He lands 15 hours later, his fuel gauges on empty, at a snow-covered airfield in Malton, Ontario. January 15th, 1942. The National Steel Car Factory, Malton, Ontario. Mr. J. G. Jim Morrow, the plant manager, stares at the crates. His factory, his life, is building railway cars, boxcars, freight cars. He builds things that are big, heavy, and simple. He builds things that are bolted to the ground. His government, in the form of C. D. Howe, the other minister of everything, has just given him a new contract. You are no longer a car factory, Jim, Howe had said over the phone. You are an aircraft factory. Morrow and his engineers open the first crate. They pull out a single, vast blueprint. It is a diagram for the main wing spar. It is 60 feet long. A complex, latticed, alien-looking thing. It has notes in the margins, in a spidery British hand, that say things like, redraw as built, and see Mr. Chadwick's notes. The room is silent. My God. His chief engineer whispers, his hands shaking. It's not a blueprint. It's a suggestion. They are not just being asked to build the Lancaster. They are being asked to reinvent it. The blueprints are British spec. They call for British standard Whitworth bolts, for British gauge aluminum, for British-made radios and instruments. Canada does not have these things. It is on the American supply chain. It has American standard SAE bolts, American gauge aluminum, and American-made Bendix instruments. We can't build this, the engineer says, defeated. No, Morrow says, a cold, hard fire in his eye. He is a builder. He understands. We can't, not this. He unrolls a fresh sheet of paper. So, he says, we will have to redraw all 50,000 of them. In Canadian, and at that same moment, a second realization hits him. He needs workers. He needs 10,000 of them. He needs 10,000 skilled tool makers, riveters, electricians, and draftsmen. And in 1942, with the Army already having taken its pick, all of those men are already gone. February 10th, 1942. A cramped kitchen, Malton, Ontario, 07 a.m. Vera Kearney, 21 years old, sips her watery, rationed coffee. She is listening to the drone of the CBC radio news. Her husband, Frank, is somewhere in England with the 1st Canadian Infantry. Her world has been reduced to writing letters and rolling bandages. Then, a different voice cuts through the static. Not a newscaster, a recruiter. Your country is calling. We do not ask you to fight on the beaches. We ask you to fight on the production line. The National Steel Car Factory in Malton is hiring men and women to build the machines that will win this war. Vera looks at her hands. They are calloused from housework, not factory work. She has never held a wrench. She has never read a blueprint. The next day, she puts on her only good coat and walks to the Malton plant. She expects a small office. Instead, she walks into a cavern. It is the largest, loudest, most terrifying room on earth. It is a mile long, echoing steel box, and it is empty. In the center of this vast, cold space, a small group of frantic men, engineers, are hunched over the 50,000 British blueprints. Their faces gray with exhaustion. Vera is pointed to a line of 200 other women. They are farm girls, teachers, waitresses. They are all, like her, out of place. The plant manager, Jim Morrow, stands on a crate. He does not sugarcoat it. I don't care. he yells over the echo. If you've ever held a tool, I care if you can learn. The men are at the front. The front is now here, in this room. This factory will build the Avro Lancaster. And you will build it. Vera is assigned to school. Her instructor is a 60-year-old tool and die maker named Smitty, pulled out of retirement. He holds up a rivet gun. It is a heavy, snub-nosed, vibrating thing that weighs 10 pounds. This, Smitty grunts, is not a sewing machine. It is a PK riveter. You burn a rivet and drive it too hard, and the skin of the wing will pucker. The plane will be slow. The pilot will die. You drive it too soft, and the rivet will pop. The wing will fall off. The pilot will die. He looks at the line of women, his eyes full of doubt. You got 1/1000th of an inch. That's your margin. Got it? Vera's first attempt is a disaster. The gun leaps in her hands, a deafening brrrr, and the rivet is driven so hard it tears the practice sheet of aluminum. Again, Smitty says. She does it again. For 8 hours, brrrr. Her arms, her shoulders are on fire. The noise is a physical blow. But by the end of the day, she is laying a clean, perfect, flush line of rivets. Right, Smitty says, with a flicker of a smile. You're a riveter. Go build a wing. While Vera is learning, the engineers are in their own personal hell. The 50,000 British blueprints are not just different. They are a different language. My God, an engineer mutters. This calls for a GKN-18 bolt. What the hell is a GKN-18? It's a Whitworth standard, another snaps. We don't have Whitworth. We have C. Get the draftsman, redraw it. They are not building a Lancaster. They are translating it. Every single one of the 50,000 unique parts must be redrawn, respecified, and re-engineered for North American parts. British gauge aluminum sheet becomes American Alcoa standard. British wiring is replaced with American standard Bendix wiring. The iconic, unreliable British magnetos are ripped out of the design and replaced with rock-solid American-made Pratt and Whitney magnetos. They are not just copying the Lancaster. They are making it better. They are making it more reliable. They are making it Canadian. August 1942. The Moulton factory floor. The cavern is no longer empty. It is a city. It is 7,000 people, and soon to be 10,000, and nearly 40% of them are women. Vera is now everywhere. They are Rosie the Riveters, but they are not just riveting. They are welders, their faces hidden behind dark, sparking masks, joining the massive engine mounts. They are electricians, girls in slacks, crawling through the 7-foot-thick center section of the wing, running the 17 miles of color-coded wire that is the bomber's nervous system. They are dopers, covering the rudders and tail fins with fabric. The chemical smell of the sealant hanging heavy in the air. And Vera is a lead. She is working on the jig. The jig for the main wing spar is the beating heart of the factory. It is a 70-foot-long, 3-story-high scaffold of steel, a monument of engineering precision. It is on this jig that the 70-foot wing, the thing that will keep 30 tons of steel, fuel, and men in the air, is built, piece by piece. Vera is now a crawler. Her small size is her greatest asset. She crawls inside the wing structure, into a space no man can fit, to rivet the stringers to the ribs from the inside out. She lies on her back. the rivet gun in one hand, the bucking bar in the other. In total, deafening darkness. The sound of 10 riveters working on the same piece of metal is not a noise. It is an avalanche. It is a sound so loud, she can feel it in her bones. BRR, ack. She is connecting a piece of stamped aluminum to another piece of stamped aluminum. She is building a boxcar, a flying boxcar. And then, in the spring of 1943, the impossible happens. The Luftwaffe, after years of trying, finally finds the Avro factory at Woodford. A Pathfinder plane drops a line of flares. The bombers follow. The single point of failure that Lord Beaverbrook feared has been hit. The teletype at Malton chatters to life. It is not a request from London. It is a plea. Woodford hit. Production. Halted. Need Lancasters. Need. Your Lancasters. What is your timeline? Jim Morrow, the plant manager, walks out of his office. He looks at the factory floor. It is no longer a collection of parts. At the far end of the mile-long building, in the final assembly bay, a thing is taking shape. It is gray. It is vast. It is a fuselage, a 70-foot wing, a tail. It is an airplane. He walks back to his office. He picks up the teletype microphone. Timeline is now. August 1st, 1943. Malton, Ontario, 13:00 p.m. It is a hot, humid Ontario summer day. The mile-long factory is silent. The riveting guns, the presses, the drills, all quiet. The entire workforce, 10,000 men and women, have been let out. They are standing on the tarmac, their faces pale with exhaustion, nerves, and a strange, terrifying pride. Vera Kearney is in the front row. Her hands, permanently stained with grease, are clenched so hard her knuckles are white. In front of them, gleaming in the sun, is their child. It is KB-700. It is not a plane. It is an architectural structure. It is 71 feet long. Its wingspan is 102 feet. Wider than a city lot, it stands 3 stories high. And it is made of 7 million individual parts, 50,000 of them redrawn, reinvented, and assembled by a factory that 18 months ago was building boxcars. Vera can see the panel she riveted last Tuesday, just behind the cockpit. She feels sick. Did I drive those rivets hard enough? Did I miss one? This is the problem. They've built it. Now, someone has to fly it. And not just fly it. They have to test it. They have to find out at 10,000 feet if the 50,000 Canadian modifications worked. The pilot is a small, wiry man named Al Lilly. He is not an RAF bomber pilot. He is a Canadian bush pilot, a man used to flying small, single-engine planes, not a 30-ton, 4-engine Colossus. But he is one of the only men in Canada with a 4-engine experience, having flown the B-24s for Ferry Command. He walks up the ladder, gives a grim, unconvincing wave, and disappears inside. Clear. The silence of the crowd is absolute. Then, a sound. A cough. A sputter. Engine 1. The port outer. Catches. A puff of blue smoke. And then a roar. Engine 2. Roars. Engine 3. Roars. Engine 4. Roars. The sound is not like a plane. It is a physical blow. It is the sound of 4,800 horsepower. A low, thrumming, ground-shaking thunder that Vera can feel in her teeth, in her chest. KB-700 taxis to the end of the new 2-mile-long runway. It turns. It waits. Vera stops breathing. Al Lilly, in the cockpit, looks at the endless wall of dials. The British ones have been replaced by American-made Bendix instruments. He is the first man to fly a Canadian Lancaster. "Throttles," he says to his co-pilot. "Full." The 4 Rolls-Royce Merlin engines, built in America and tuned in Canada, scream to their peak. The plane shudders, straining against its brakes. Lily lets go. The Colossus moves. It moves slowly, like a building. Deciding to go for a walk, it picks up speed, 60 mep, 80 mep. Vera is watching the wheels. "Lift, you bastard. Lift, 100 mep, 110 mep." The tail wheel lifts, 120 mep. Lily pulls back on the yoke, and the 30-ton, 7 million part, 10,000 person gamble lifts into the air. It is flying. A sound comes from the crowd. Not a cheer, a gasp, a collective, human sigh of 10,000 people, letting go of a breath they have been holding for 18 months. Vera is weeping. She doesn't even know it. The boxcar flew. KB700 circles the field, its 102-foot wingspan casting a cross-shaped shadow over the factory, over the women who built it. It is steady. It is fast. It is beautiful. When Lily lands, an hour later, the crowd breaks. They swarm the plane, ignoring the prop wash, just to touch the metal skin. Vera puts her hand on the fuselage. It is warm. The next week, there is a ceremony. KB700 is officially christened. It is not a number anymore. A Rosie the Riveter is given the honor. It is Vera. She cracks a bottle of champagne on the nose art. The name, painted in bold, yellow letters. Ruhar Express. It is not a Canadian plane. It is a promise. It is the first of a new, transatlantic, 3,000-mile-long assembly line. Safe from the Luftwaffe. The very next week, KB700, the Ruhr Express, is flown by a ferry command crew across the Atlantic. It is not a test. It is a delivery. It lands in England. The RAF ground crews, used to the battle-worn, patched-up British Lancs, are stunned. "My God," a British flight engineer says, running his hand over a rivet line. "It's perfect. The joins are flush. The wiring. It all makes sense." They are looking at a Lancaster built with the precision and the finish of a brand new, peacetime automobile, back in Malton. Jim Morrow and Vera Kearney do not get a day off. The Ruhr Express is gone. And in the now empty, vast, echoing final assembly bay, the jigs are already being loaded with the parts for KB701. The factory's job was not to build a Lancaster. It was to build 400 of them. The line is now hot. The real work begins. April 10th, 1944. Victory Aircraft Plant, Malton, Ontario. 10:02 Baguarzu AM. The factory does not sleep. It is a 24-hour, 3-shift, roaring river of production. The cavern is now a solid, moving mass of aluminum. Vera Kearney, now a shift supervisor, walks the line. She no longer sees parts. She sees a process. At the east end, the factory eats. Trucks arrive. 24 hours a day, loaded with sheets of Alcoa aluminum, copper wire from Quebec, and 200 horsepower Merlin engines, fresh from the Packard factory in Detroit. In the middle, the body is formed. Vera's riveters, now calloused veterans, work in teams with a speed that is mechanical, almost frightening. They are no longer Rosies. They are mechanics. They speak in code. Get me a PK. That's a soft rivet. Check the stringer. The jig that once held the Ruhr Express has been replicated 10 times, and at the west end, the factory gives birth. The final assembly bay is a scene of controlled, high-speed chaos. A massive 30-ton gray and black bomber, complete with its 102-foot wingspan, is rolled off the line. Not once a month, not once a week. One every day. The 7,000 women and 3,000 men of Victory Aircraft are not building Lancasters. They are manufacturing them. They have taken the most complex machine of the war and put it on a Ford-style assembly line. As one bomber, KB-780, is towed out the massive doors into the pre-dawn cold, the next fuselage, KB-781, is already being winched into its place. The line never stops. April 12th, 1944. RCAF station, Skipton-on-Swale, Yorkshire, England. Flying Officer Art Mackenzie, 22, from Lethbridge. Alberta is the skip of a brand new crew. They are all Canadian. They are all graduates of the BCATP, and they are all assigned to No. 6 Group, Bomber Command, Canada's own group. They are also scared. They have just been assigned their first operational aircraft. But it's not what they were expecting. It's not a hand-me-down. It's not a battle-scarred British Lanc with 50 ops painted on the side and a fuselage that's more patches than skin. It is new. It is gleaming in the rain, its black and gray paint still smelling fresh. The ground crew chief, a grizzled RAF veteran, slaps its nose. She's all yours. Skip. Just came over the pond. Fresh from the factory, Art runs his hand over the fuselage. The rivet lines are as smooth as a dinner plate. He climbs inside. The cockpit is different. The tangle of British spec wiring he'd trained on is gone. It is replaced by neat, logical, color-coded harnesses. The instruments are not Smiths and Lucas. They are Bendix and Pratt and Whitney. My God, his flight engineer, a man from Winnipeg, whispers, I can actually reach the fuel cocks, and look, they're not just labeled. They're Canadian. He points to a small metal plate riveted to the dashboard. Built by Victory Aircraft, Malton, Canada. Well, boys, Art says, a slow smile spreading. She's one of ours. Let's not break her. They christen her K for Kangaroo, in honor of their station's call sign. She is KB-799, April 22nd, 1944. 21:30 p.m. 18,000 feet. Over the North Sea. Torgau, K for Kangaroo, is one of 800 bombers. The stream is 70 miles long. The target, Dusseldorf, the forge of the Reich. This is Art Mackenzie's 4th op. This is his crew's 4th time in hell. Navigator to Skip. The voice of his nav, a former math teacher from Toronto, crackles in his ear. We're 20 minutes from the target area. Art, weather is not as advertised. Heavy cloud. Fighter belt, Art says, his knuckles white on the yoke. Keep your eyes peeled, gunners. This is the terror, not the flak. The hunters, the Luftwaffe night fighters. Mid-upper to Skip, I see. Nothing, just other lunks. The sky is, as always, a mix of the sublime and the horrific. They are flying through a sea of stars. But below them, the first Pathfinder flares are going down, bathing the 10-mile thick cloud deck in a sickly, pulsating red. Right. Bomb aimer. Your run. the bomb bay doors grown open. A 33-foot-long gash in the belly of the plane. The cold, 20,000-foot air rips through the fuselage. We're on the run. Skip. Steady. Steady. Hoom-pump. Hoom-pum. Flak. The rear gunner screams. Two black puffs, angry and immediate, explode just off their port wing. The plane is thrown 500 feet, like a toy. Art fights the yoke, his arms screaming. We're hit. We're hit. The flight engineer yells. Port inner is. It's hit. The gauges are. They're wild. A piece of shrapnel has torn through the engine nacelle. In a British-built Lanc, this is often a death sentence. The complex, often brittle wiring, could short. The oil lines, patched from a dozen repairs, could burst. It's holding. Skip! The engineer yells, his voice a mix of panic and awe. The fire. No fire. The feather circuit it's working. The new, robust, American spec wiring, installed by a 20-year-old Rosie in Malton, has just held. The Canadian-built engine, with its reliable Packard-built magnetos, has just taken a direct hit and feathered perfectly. While bombs. Gone. The bomb aimer screams. The plane jumps 4,000 pounds lighter. Get us out of here, Art. Navigator, heading. 28 Neo, skip and dive. Get us out of this. Art throws the $500,000 Canadian-built Miracle into a 4,000-foot-per-minute corkscrew dive, fleeing the target zone on 3 engines. They are alone. They are crippled. But they are flying. As they limp over the North Sea, the sun beginning to rise, the rear gunner, his voice hoarse, calls out, Skip, you're not going to believe this. What? Jock. Look, at 5 o'clock, low. Art banks the massive plane, and he sees it. Another Lancaster, and another, and another. A stream of them. Not from his raid. These are new. They are silver, unpainted. They are the next wave. They are the daylight bombers, flying from Malton, across the Atlantic, to fill the empty slots on the airfields. The artery is real. Art Mackenzie lands K for Kangaroo on 3 engines. He has brought his crew home, his plane, built by women who had never seen the ocean, had just crossed it, fought over a foreign country, and brought him back. The impossible factory was no longer a gamble. It was the lifeline. May 28th, 1944. Victory Aircraft Plant, Malton, Ontario. 11 Hayrul M. The factory is no longer just a factory. It is a miracle of logistics. The one-a-day goal has been met and shattered. The line is now so fast, so optimized, that a fully completed 4-engine heavy bomber is being rolled out the door, tested, and flown out. Every 18 hours, the 7,000 women and 3,000 men of Malton are not just building Lancasters. They are building the Lancaster Mark X. This is no longer a copy. It is a distinct, superior, Canadian-perfected variant. The unreliable British magnetos? Gone. Replaced with high-performance, American-made Bendix systems. The avionics? All standardized, interchangeable, and reliable. The mid-upper gun turret? The weak, often faulty British design has been ripped out and replaced with a new, lethal, electrically driven Martin 250 turret. The same one used on the American B-26 Marauder, complete with 250 caliber heavy machine guns. The plumber's nightmare Sten gun was perfected by Canadian craftsmen. The king of bombers, Lancaster, was perfected by Canadian industrialists. Vera Kearney, now a senior line supervisor, stands on a gantry, a clipboard in her hand. Below her, the final assembly line looks like a river of giant, gray and black sharks, all pointed west. She is no longer just a riveter. She is a manager. She is responsible for the entire port wing assembly line. She checks the production board. KB 976, KB 977, KB 978. They are no longer names. They are units. They are the 276th, 277th, and 278th impossibilities to roll off her line. A new memo from the War Office is pinned to the board. It is not a request, it is a demand. All production to be accelerated, all transatlantic ferry flights to be given absolute priority. D-Day is coming. Vera looks down at her hands. They are scarred, the nails permanently black. She has a new letter in her pocket. From her husband, Frank. He is no longer somewhere in England. He is somewhere on the south coast. He is part of the invasion. She looks at the massive 71-foot fuselage of KB 978. She looks at the wing her girls are riveting. She is no longer building a bomber. She is building a 30-ton, 4-engine armored roof for her husband. She is building the artillery that will clear the beaches for him. She picks up the intercom. "All right, girls." Her voice, now hard and clear, booms over the line. "You heard the news. Let's build these things faster." June 6th, 1944, 03:00 EM, 12,000 feet over the Normandy coast. Flying Officer Art Mackenzie, in K for Kangaroo, is one of 136 heavy bombers. His target, the Merville Battery. The sky is solid. It is a 10-mile wide, 20-mile long river of 4-engine bombers. The roar is so profound that the very air seems to be tearing apart, and a staggering number of them are Canadian. Over 230 Lancasters from No. 6 Group, his group, and almost all of them, are Lancs built in Malton. The Ruhr Express has become the Normandy Express. This is not a city-busting raid. This is tactical. Bomb aimer. You see it? I see it. Skip. God help them. I see it. Below them, the German 105 mm coastal guns are waiting, sighted on the beaches. Art's K for Kangaroo, built by Vera, crewed by Canadians, clears the path. Bombs gone. The 12,000-pound tall boy leaves the aircraft. The Impossible Factory has just delivered its impossible payload to clear the way for the Canadian infantry. Landing on Juno Beach, the war ends. The line at Malton, Ontario, finally stops. The last bomber, FM 229, is rolled out the door. The final tally, 430 Avro Lancasters, built from 50,000 redrawn blueprints by a factory that used to make boxcars. The factory itself, Victory Aircraft, does not close. It has become the most valuable piece of industrial real estate in Canada. It is bought by the Hawker Siddeley Group. It becomes Avro Canada. It is the factory that will go on to build the Avro Aero, the C-102 jetliner. It is the direct ancestor of the entire modern Canadian aerospace industry. The impossible gamble had created a new nation of builders. And the women? Vera Kearney meets Frank at the train station in Toronto. He is thin, his eyes haunted, but he is home. He holds her hands. He looks at the scars, the calluses. "My God, Vera," he whispers. "What? What have you been doing?" Vera just smiles. "Winning the war, Frank, just winning the war." The Rosie the Riveters are thanked. They are given certificates. And then, for the most part, they are quietly, politely, told to go home, to give the jobs back to the returning men. But they do not forget. The woman who had crawled inside the wing of a 30-ton bomber, the woman who had supervised a production line of 100 other riveters, was not the same woman who had been afraid to touch a tool in 1942. The factory was a machine. But the women, the 7,000 women who had turned 50,000 pieces of paper into an artery of air power, they were the victory.